It's finally happened. The $200 million Harvey empire just hit a massive roadblock, and Lori Harvey is reportedly the one left out in the cold. In a move that sent shockwaves through Hollywood, Steve Harvey has allegedly voided Lori's massive inheritance, declaring behind closed doors that she is no longer considered part of the family inner circle. The luxury, the monthly allowance, the safety net, it's all vanished. Tonight, we're exposing the secret family meeting where Steve finally reached his breaking point. The world of celebrity power is built on a very thin line between untouchable luxury and total isolation. For years, Lori Harvey's life was a masterclass in carefully curated perfection, all shielded by the immense financial and social power of her stepfather, Steve Harvey. But today, that shield hasn't just cracked, it has reportedly been shattered. We are witnessing a brutal inversion of fortune, a transition from being the crown jewel of the Harvey empire to allegedly being stripped of a $200 million inheritance. To understand why Steve Harvey has reportedly voided Lori's future wealth and declared her no longer family, we must analyze the sharp contrast between the massive support she once enjoyed and the cold reality she faces now. For more than a decade, Steve Harvey served as Lori's ultimate bank and bodyguard. He didn't just provide for her, he prioritized her. The contrast between Steve's biological children and his stepdaughter was always a talking point. While his biological kids often stayed in the background, Lori was front and center, funded by $1 million monthly allowance and gifted a platform that many could only dream of. Steve was the man who made sure she never heard the word no, effectively creating a dynamic where Lori began to mistake his generosity for her own power. She lived a life leased from the bank of Steve, assuming the lease was permanent. But the energy has shifted in a way that feels like a total system failure. The contrast today is found in the sudden, deafening silence. Where there used to be public praise, there is now a reported secret family meeting, where Steve finally pulled the plug. Steve Harvey, a man built on traditional values and a hard-earned reputation, has reportedly reached a breaking point. Insider reports suggest that Steve looked at Lori's reckless lifestyle and constant controversies and realized they were no longer a brand, they were a liability. The contrast lies in the shift from unconditional defense to a cold, business-like severance. Steve didn't just get angry, he protected his legacy. The report of Steve saying, "She's no longer family to me," is the ultimate emotional and financial divorce. The contrast between the Lori Harvey who once claimed she was the prize, and the Lori Harvey who is now reportedly in tears over frozen accounts is a sobering reality check. The private jets and designer wardrobes were never truly hers. They were tools provided by a man she allegedly disrespected. This isn't just a family feud, it's a total loss of identity. Without the Harvey last name and the $200 million safety net, the Lori Harvey brand is suddenly facing a market crash. Adding to the sting is the contrast with the man she left behind, Michael B. Jordan. While Lori moved toward a life of freedom and rumored recklessness, Michael ascended to the peak of Hollywood, recently celebrating a massive Oscar win. The public is devouring this narrative of karma. Steve is reportedly looking at Michael's grounded success and comparing it to the chaos Lori has brought to his doorstep. He realizes he was backing the wrong horse. Now, Steve is reportedly shifting that $200 million focus back to his biological children, rectifying years of favoritism. The prize has been dethroned, and the biological heirs are moving to the front of the line. This is the ultimate fall from grace. The warm cocoon of the Harvey empire has turned into a cold, closed door. Lori is learning the hardest lesson in Hollywood: when you don't own the foundation, you shouldn't burn the house down. The contrast between her glamorous yesterday and her isolated tomorrow is a $200 million mistake that may never be undone. The atmosphere inside the Harvey estate was reportedly cold enough to freeze the room when Steve finally called for the meeting that would change everything. This wasn't a casual family dinner, this was a high-stakes summit behind closed doors, and the tension was described as suffocating. According to insiders, Steve sat at the head of the table, not as the joking TV host the world knows, but as a disappointed patriarch who had finally seen enough. The drama reportedly reached a fever pitch when Steve laid out a folder of every headline, every reckless sighting, and every moment Lori had supposedly compromised the family's hard-earned reputation. Witnesses claim the air was thick with a sense of finality. While Marjorie allegedly tried to play peacemaker, Steve remained unshakable. The speculation growing in celebrity circles is that Lori didn't see the blow coming. She reportedly entered the room with her usual untouchable confidence, only to be met with the news that her $1 million monthly allowance was being terminated and her $200 million inheritance was being voided. Steve's disappointment wasn't just about the money, it was about the perceived betrayal of the Harvey values. The most dramatic detail leaking from this secret session is the reported silence that followed Steve's declaration that Lori was no longer family to the estate. It was a verbal divorce that left everyone stunned. Sources say Lori broke down, realizing for the first time that her stepfather's patience had a price she could no longer afford to pay. This wasn't a warning, it was an eviction from the empire. The prize of the Harvey roster was reportedly stripped of her title in a matter of minutes, leaving the rest of the family to pick sides in a house that is now divided by a $200 million line in the sand. The karma narrative surrounding this fallout has created an unbearable level of internal tension within the Harvey household, as the ghost of relationships past continues to haunt their current crisis. The name being whispered in every corner of the estate is Michael B. Jordan. For Steve, Michael wasn't just another name on Lori's long roster, he was the one who actually fit the family's mold. Steve reportedly saw a younger version of his own hustle in Michael, a man of substance, grounded values, and global respect. The internal friction stems from Steve's growing realization that while he was busy building a pedestal for Lori, she was busy knocking down the very pillars of stability he approved of. Inside the family, the tension is thick because everyone knows the public is laughing. The narrative that Lori fumbled the bag by leaving a man who just secured an Oscar win is a bitter pill for Steve to swallow. Reports suggest that Steve feels a deep sense of secondary embarrassment. He sees Michael's upward trajectory and contrasts it with the messy headlines Lori continues to generate. This has created a rift between Steve and Marjorie, as Marjorie allegedly continues to defend Lori's right to find herself, while Steve views it as a reckless abandonment of a winning hand. The karma isn't just about the lost relationship, it's about the loss of the Harvey shield. The internal tension reached a breaking point when Steve reportedly pointed out that Michael never needed the Harvey money or the fame, he brought his own. Lori, however, is now realizing that her status was entirely dependent on the man she just pushed to his limit. The irony of the situation is suffocating. The more Lori tries to prove she is independent, the more the public, and now her own father, reminds her that the only reason she was the prize was because of the man who stood behind her. The scale of this family fracture has left social media in an absolute frenzy, sparking a level of outrage that is dividing fans right down the middle. This isn't just another celebrity breakup or a temporary spat, this is a $200 million statement that has forced everyone to pick a side. On one hand, you have the critics who say Steve Harvey is being cold-blooded for stripping away the inheritance of a daughter he raised as his own. They argue that family should be unconditional and that using wealth as a weapon of control is the ultimate betrayal. But on the other side, a massive wave of supporters is cheering Steve on, calling this the ultimate reality check for a generation that has forgotten the value of respect and the grind it takes to build a legacy. The outrage is fueling a massive debate. Did Lori Harvey truly fumble her entire future, or is Steve Harvey finally showing his true colors by choosing his biological bloodline over the daughter he once called his favorite? The internet is not holding back, and neither should you. This is the kind of drama that changes how we look at celebrity perfection forever. We want to hear from the fans who have been following this journey from the very beginning. Is Steve Harvey right to protect his $200 million empire from what he calls reckless behavior? Asterisk, or do you think Lori is being unfairly targeted because she chose to live life on her own terms? Asterisk, and let's be real, do you think the Michael B. Jordan karma is finally catching up to the Harvey household? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below. We are reading every single take, and the debate is getting heated. If you think Steve is being a legendary father by teaching this lesson, let us know. If you think Lori deserves better, speak on it. If you're shocked by these secret meeting details and want to stay updated as the lawyers and the family battle it out, make sure you like this video and share it with someone who needs to see the reality behind the glitz. Most importantly, subscribe to Celebrity Hush and hit that notification bell. We are tracking every frozen account, every leaked text, and every move in this $200 million chess match. You don't want to be the last to know when the next hammer drops. Stay locked in. This story is far from over.